Before I buy my Rebel 500, I initially actually put a deposit on a Rebel 300, and I was about to buy a Rebel 300, but the only reason, the main reason other than the Rebel 300 being actually really underpowered and really slow, was that I wanted to take my bike on the highway. That's why I bought the Rebel 500. And the big question is, how does this bike handle the highways? Let's answer it together, but before that, I'm gonna get on the bike, go for a ride, and I'll take you guys with me. Well, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to yet another video. If you're new here, I'm a Major Fari, and this is my 2023 Rebel 500 SC with 6,500 miles on the bike after 5 months of ownership. You heard it right, 6,500. I'm about to lose the light, so let's make this quick, and I have to get back home. So it's a perfect timing for a video about highways, because we are going to take some highways. Alright. You heard it right. I initially put a deposit for a Rebel 300 and wanted to get a Rebel 300 because I thought, oh shit, it looks so cool. But after a little bit of research and conveyance from my brother and a co-worker of mine, I ended up getting the Rebel 500, which I am riding right now. And the biggest reason was that the Rebel 300, even though it's heavy enough for a one-cylinder 20 horsepower bike, it wasn't gonna be enough for me to actually take it on the highway and go for trips that I have already done with this bike. I've done more than 6,500 miles on this bike, and majority of those miles has been on the highways. We did go to Ocean City's bike week once, which is 180 miles to get there and 180 miles to come back, so the grand total of almost 400 miles was to get there and come back and then riding around there. And I'll tell you now, no spoilers, you can go for long rides on this bike, but there are a few problems. And the first problem, the biggest problem, which I kind of already fixed and I talked about in another video, is the seat. The stock seat is not comfortable. I did go with a Mustang seat. If you want to watch that video talking about the Mustang seat, there's going to be a link in the description or pop in a banner in the corner that side. I believe so. Yeah, that side. So the seat was not comfortable after 30 minutes of or 40 minutes of riding in a stock seat. I would have had pain in my legs, pain in my butt, and pain in my funny bone for sure. But after changing that seat to the Mustang seat, it's possible to go for a longer than an hour ride without having any pain, basically. But it still goes to sleep. The second problem that I have with this bike being on a highway is that there is no wind protection. Even though I knew that from the beginning, there's only this fairing right here that is on the bike as an appearance package for the SC model. But if you were to buy yourself a aftermarket wind protection like a Buick or a fairing, the options are kind of slim, kind of non-existent. There's only one Buick and a fairing from actually the brand Buick, which I tried to put a Buick on this bike. It just scratched my fairing and I just scratched that idea. So if you don't mind wind buffering or battling the wind all the time trying to ride your bike on a highway, it's fine, totally fine. But I know I'm not gonna be keeping this bike forever. I will definitely get a gold wing if I want to go on longer distance riding, which I will. But this does it just fine for 2 hours to 3 hours maximum of riding. The next thing and the biggest problem with this bike for highway, again, it can handle it fine. However, the gearing is an issue. Right now I'm doing 67, 68 miles an hour. Let's go to 70 miles an hour, normal highway speed. And it feels like in the 6th gear that the bike is screaming at me. Even though I can't really see the tachometer to see what the revs I am at, it feels like the bike is screaming at me. So the vibration going through my body, there is a lot of noise coming from the exhaust. And I mean, it's fixable, put an earplug in, or change my sprocket to something that you can actually have a longer gearing, it's fixable, but it's a thing to consider if you're thinking about buying a Revo 500 to go on a highway. The next thing to consider is the gas tank. It's a 2.9 gallon tank, which in average I get about 50 miles per gallon. It's good gas per mileage. However, because the gas tank is pretty small, the range is not the best. I get an average of 130 to 140 miles per tank, which I believe is not really good for longer highway cruises or highway riding. It makes sense to stop every few hours to stretch, put some gas on the bike, then keep riding. But if you were to just sit down and ride for hours without needing to put some gas on the bike, it's just not possible. You definitely have to stop every an hour and a half or 2 hours after 100, 120 miles to put some gas on the bike. But again, having that 50 plus miles per gallon is pretty clutch for saving money and not needing to spend too much money for your daily commute. I average a week per tank, basically. That's how much I ride, yes. And it costs me average of $10 to $12 depending on the gas prices, and nowadays gas prices fluctuate like crazy. If I were to drive my car and fill up basically every week, that would have been $80 to $90. Please go. People, man, people. If you're fine with just stopping here and there and putting some gas on the bike, that's totally fine. I do want to go on the highway, however, it's gonna be traffic, so I have to take a detour. One other thing that might be a problem for some people, especially tall people, I am 5 feet 10 inches, and the seat ergonomics or sitting position of this bike after a long ride, it is a problem because of the mid controls and how low the seat is. You have this little triangular shape right here, which gives you some cramps after a long ride on your hips and on your legs. There's options for forward control conversions, which you can do if you were to turn this into a more comfortable bike to ride in a longer distance, but it is how it is. What I do is I have the frame sliders. I just put my leg up and enjoy the ride. I lean back a little and make myself a little more comfortable, even though still there is this little break here and it's not the most comfortable sitting position ever. Also, because this bike is less than 450 pounds, it's pretty light, and if it's a windy day and you're trying to be on the highway, you get thrown around pretty often. Like yesterday I was coming back from a mountain ride and it was pretty windy, and I had to be pretty stiff and make sure I don't die because the wind was literally throwing me around left to the right. But it's manageable because it's super light. It's not that hard to manage this bike, and overall it just works. Other things that I think this bike could have had and be more useful in riding in highway, for example, would have been cruise control or some riding modes. For example, if it rains and I'm trying to ride, I have to be really careful because there's no rain mode, there's no road mode, it's just one mode. I sometimes joke about it with Fardad on the comm system, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to sport mode. I'm like, oh, I'm going to 418 mode. It's just a clock. But as far as cruise control goes, yes, I have an Atlas throttle lock here. It does the job. It locks the throttle. It's not that it like holds the actual speed, but it does the job. Also, if I had a rev counter, it would have been even better to see what RPMs I am at when I'm riding over the higher speeds of highway. But other than that, I mean, it's fine. It does it. I just did 15 minutes of riding with no problem. But other than that, I'm happy with it. I'm definitely considering getting a Honda Goldwing or a FB6, something more comfortable, because I do love riding the bike through the different states, and we'll see what the future brings us. Super close to 1,000 subscribers right now. I can't wait to get there. And I think with that, all being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. If you have a Rebel 500, hit me up. If you're around Northern Virginia or Sterling area, let's go for a ride together. And if you have any questions about anything that I have done to the bike, for example the seat, the lights, or the frame sliders, or anything else that you see, let me know in the comment section down below as well. And I think with that all being said, as always stay amazing, until see you guys in the next one. Peace. As soon as I put this glove on, I could just go with the car and not having to deal with the warmer gloves and warmer clothes and warmer stuff.